Ghostly Avengers in history. I am fascinated by this, so I'm going to elaborate on it in a short video. We all know karma is a bitch, and there's no better example for it than history. And I'm gonna mention a couple of totally awesome examples that include two of the most influential figures in world history, and these are Julius Caesar and Jesus Christ. Come to think of it now, even the names sound alike, which makes it all the more weirdly epic. So starting with Caesar. We all know the story of the tyrant's assassination. We study it in school, we grow up being painfully familiar with it. I mean, even a random idiot on the street would think of a powerful guy being stabbed in the back when they hear the name of Caesar. But not much attention is paid to the interesting stuff that happened right after Caesar was killed in the theater of Pompey. We have some sources informing us about his corpse just lying there for like 3 or 4 hours before someone tends to it. And then about how Brutus and the other conspirators went out on the streets of Rome to call people out, like prompting them to celebrate, to bask in their freedom and restored republic, however much delusional that was. And the people actually doing the exact opposite of that, like barricading themselves in their homes, not daring to come out. And then the sources go on about Caesar's funeral pyre in the Forum, where the people go nuts after Marcus Antonius' speech and start feeding piles of wood into the fire, like throwing in furniture and even clothes, to the point where the fire gets out of control and damages some of the buildings around. And then the mourners of the tyrant light their torches from the funeral pyre itself and become an angry mob, thirsting for the blood of Brutus, Cassius, and the other conspirators. They go so far as to attack their houses, where the misunderstood saviors of the Republic barely succeed to repel them. And this is what really makes me get a historygasm, just thinking about how the very fires that consumed the flesh of Caesar ran across the city to get back at the assassinators. It really sounds like the stuff that makes up legends. And I do understand the dry political explanation of it, how Caesar invested in popularity with the plebeians and basically had the mob on his side. But the story still gives me the chills of a romantically spiced up epic. It has this creepy theme embedded in it, like vengeance from the grave. And speaking of such posthumous vengeance, we can also look at an example that is more or less similar, but on a much grander scale. And this would be the case of Jesus Christ and his sort of symbolic revenge upon the whole of the Senatus Populusque Romanus. And I know I should have said empire here, but I just wanted to pronounce the acronym in Latin because it sounds freakishly epic. So about Jesus, we basically know that Christianity in ancient Rome was a community not greater than that of the Jews, but this all changed when Pontius Pilatus got his hands on the Messiah preacher, who we all know by the name of Jesus, the delicious and sacrilegious. And this was all brought to my attention recently because I got myself into reading Edward Gibbon's Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, which, by the way, is totally awesome. So the guy got me thinking about how Christianity only thrived to such a monumental extent because of Jesus' execution. As I think I've heard people call this the Messiah factor, like with Emperor Muad'Dib from Frank Herbert's Dune saga. Shout out to all fellow Dune nerds. So drowning a threat in blood might not get you rid of it, in fact, just the opposite. You dispose of the preacher the easy, gory way, and you get a martyr in return, thus bringing back the cult twice as strong. Because, as one might expect, Jesus' students wanted revenge, at least a little bit. I mean, come on. And I'm leaving the unrealistically angelic values and religious bias aside. So what better way to get back at the filthy Christian-killing Romans than occult propaganda, which now has its very own ascended Messiah? Jesus dies, and Christianity starts to spread its tentacles across the world, and before long you naturally get kind of a spent and weakened Roman Empire that has no choice but to conform to the convenient status quo factor that Christianity has become at this point. And it's adopted as Rome's official religion, which gradually starts to warp the old Roman values. Simply put, when I think of ancient Rome, I immediately imagine blood, war, sex, gold, ambition, and these are all values that Christianity kind of puts to sleep till they are, to a great extent, gone. Blood and war are replaced by peace and calm reason. Sex is heavily restrained, at least officially, and ambition is dumbed down to modesty. In a way, the Roman machine had its engine kind of choked, and this happened just in time for the massive waves of nomadic tribes that poured down from Asia into Europe to overcome the empire, hence Rome's downfall by the barbarians. Now, in my nerdy imagination, this all looks like a creepy dead Jesus revenge. The empire killed him, and then he killed the empire, by putting it to sleep with his melodic little songs of peace and heaven, while the barbaric threat loomed over the seven hills. Side note, I know it's technically not the death of the empire, since the Byzantines rocked medieval centuries, but I like to think of Rome as the original empire, and of the sacking of Rome as the end of it. Hence the cool dead empire scenario. So Julius Caesar and Jesus Christ as the ghostly avengers, what do you guys think about that? If you're a history geek as well and you want to discuss, I'd be absolutely glad to, so hit the comments. And thank you for watching.